Takeru Kameshiro, an ordinary middle-aged salaryman, woke up in the body of a young lad in the middle of the forest. The former four-eyed loner, who was chosen by God to be reincarnated into a fantasy world in the body of a handsome young man in his prime, right after his death to his dimension. Back then, he explained to the shocked fella that he had erased all of his traces on Earth right after he suffered from heart failure. Since he was a plain-looking loner whom nobody paid attention to, the god found him the perfect specimen to handle matters on Medeus, a planet in another universe. His earthly knowledge came from civilizations in other stars, which was why an earthling like him would be capable of causing a ripple on the planet, which would eventually change the world. At first, Takeru refused, due to the sudden realization of his death, but his curiosity got the best of him, so he agreed to it. For starters, the god granted him the voice of all things, an ability to communicate and understand all languages on Medeus. Then he increased Takeru's physical abilities, making sure Takeru could resist poison and drug effects. As if programming a game character, the god added immunity to fear and every negative stat. Worried about being stranded, Takeru demanded cash to be able to navigate the new world. But since the god wasn't allowed to hold cash, he added an investigation ability to Takeru's log. With the ability, Takeru would use the magic to find raw materials that he could sell off at shops for income. Logically, Takeru asked for a convenient bag that he could use to carry a large amount of raw materials. As usual, the god granted him the ability, increasing the features whereby Takeru could store food items and the bag would return to him if he misplaced it. Since it was a fantasy world, Takeru then requested to be a magic user, so the god not only granted him the arts, but also improved Takeru's knowledge and understanding of magic. He granted him the convenient magic, which is used mostly in games. Despite all the skills, Takeru demanded one more, which was the rizz to bag baddies. Being a generous creator, the god promised he would get the woman of his dreams along the way. With that, he sent Takeru off, and just before he got isekai'd, the god wondered if the partner he promised Takeru wouldn't be problematic. He also asked Takeru not to commit genocide, and if he can't help it, there must be a good reason for it. Currently, Takeru heads in a direction where a twig from Yggdrasil pointed, and even though he doesn't know the abilities granted to him are OP, capable of evolving into a calamity class, the young adventurer begins his quest to find happiness. Takeru walks along the path, and after a while, he sees a distant village. He observes the settlement and learns that they are humans. Skeptical about how they might treat him, he considers the law of equivalent exchange and notes that he has nothing to offer. He then remembers that the god had granted him an investigative ability to help him find raw materials which he can sell. Quickly, he makes up his mind to find materials around him, and as he chants the ability, like a character from a popular serialized shoujo manga, nothing happens. Embarrassed, he crouches and scribbles on the floor, the synonyms of investigation, and when he writes search, floating symbols appear, glowing next to several objects around him. Takeru observes them and spots a particular flower glowing just like them. He tries examining the flower, and just like he did when trying to use the investigation skill, he calls out other synonyms. Upon mentioning scan, a pop-up window appears, showing the details of the flower. There he learns it's a moonlit nightgrass, a B-rank item which cures exhaustion. Happily, he picks up the item and blesses his luck as he puts the flower in his bag. He then makes up his mind to look for other shining mushrooms and plants. After a while, he assembles the mushrooms and herbs he found. He then notices a smooth rock among them, so he picks it up, and with his scan skill, he learns it's an anteater's doo-doo. Although disgusted, he chooses to keep it because the item is ranked C-class. After his search for materials, Takeru learns that the shapes displayed over items represent the types of materials. Clover represents plant materials, while heart and diamond represent animal materials and rock minerals respectively. Upon arriving at the village entrance, a guard spots Takeru and asks him if he's a wanderer. Takeru learns the village is called Tormy, a rural village in the northern region. He opens up that he's a lonely wanderer who gathers and sells raw materials. Surprised at Takeru's height and impressed with his hobby, the guard introduces himself as Marlowe and tells him the village only has a general store owned by Jerome. He permits Takeru in, and the dope casually strolls into the village, trying to locate the general store. The villagers notice his height and charms. There, he sees a lot of items ranging from utensils to potions. Jerome sees the new face, and once he learns Takeru is a wanderer, he asks Takeru if he wants to buy something. Instead, Takeru shows him the anteater's waist, and Jerome eyes it in awe. He then asks Takeru to sell it to him for 5 silver coins. The black-haired, who is unfamiliar with their currency, asks how much it'll cost to rent an inn for a night, and Jerome tells him it'll cost 500 lib. The matter gets more complicated, so Takeru asks how much 500 lib is in coins. Jerome then explains that it'll cost 50 copper coins, which means that a silver coin equals 1,000 lib. Shocked, Takeru learns that the anteater's dung costs more than staying in an inn, so he agrees and Jerome hands him the coins. Jerome curiously asks him if he has more items to show him, so Takeru brings out all the stuff he found in the forest. Amazed, Jerome goes through the items one by one, and when he spots the flower, he holds it preciously and says he hasn't seen one this big, just like she said. Takeru tells him he found it in the northern forest. Jerome asks Takeru to get mithril ore in a western mountain, and as a job payment he promised to pay 360,000 lib. Before Takeru heads out, Jerome tells him that there might be D-rank monsters in the mountains, so be careful. Takeru goes to an inn. A little girl brings hot water. He asks what to do with it. She says it is for wiping himself since he is an adventurer and must be dirty. He asks about a bath, but they do not have one. That shocks him because he always takes baths and does not wipe. She adds that some mages can clean people with magic. The word magic lifts his mood. He takes the water, tips her a little extra, and she leaves happy. Takeru says, clean. Magic washes him at once, yet a bath lover like him still feels unsatisfied. Next day, he goes to search for things. He spots a spade icon for the first time and finds a knight's corpse. Fear hits him. Near it lies a charm made by the man's mother with a letter that tells him to stay safe. Takeru cannot walk away. He digs a grave and buries the body. Evening comes. He draws a circle, activates a barrier, and it works perfectly. Then he cooks dinner and makes a nice meat curry. After this, Takeru enters the Forest of White Trees, the Forest of Ancient Dragons. It is a dangerous zone where monsters roam. He scans for ores while he travels, but gets no reaction. He sees no living thing at all. He thinks he smells bad. He lets it be, since if it keeps enemies away, it helps. He runs toward distant lights, slips, and falls off a cliff. He calls the spell Fly and lands safely. On the ground, ore readings appear. He finds some silver, but no good material. A weak signal shows the ore is deep. An earthquake hits. He decides to leave fast. He makes a fireball and hits the rock with force. As it nears, he uses Eruption and blasts it. A hole opens and reveals a cave. Outside the cave, he finds some miserable ore, but pieces are small. Another quake rolls through. He has come this far, so he pushes on. He enters the cave and reaches water that looks crystal clear. He has never seen water this clean. His scan shows rank SS. It is water from an ancient dragon's lair. This is his biggest find so far. A growl arises. A voice under the water throws many questions at him. Takeru does not answer and asks his own, like whether he should stay here or not. A dragon rises from the water, angry that he ignored him. The dragon is shocked that Takeru endures his pressure. Takeru bows at once and apologizes for trespassing without permission. He has bowed to many people since he entered the workforce, so bowing to a dragon is easy for him. The dragon thinks he is a man who studies Nirma and asks what he is. Takeru gives his name and says he is human. The dragon senses magic spilling from him and looks surprised. He reveals that Takeru's magic rivals his own. Takeru realizes this is the ancient dragon Valdius. The dragon asks for his strength. Takeru asks what he means. The dragon says he needs that power to revive his child. The tented Manahera keeps the egg from hatching. In exchange, he offers pure, miserable ore. A black egg rises from the water, large and heavy. Takeru listens close, hears a heartbeat, and asks what he should do. The dragon tells Takeru to pour his mana into the egg the same way he created the light. Once it is an egg, Takeru decides to heat it up, and when he does this, the overflowing magic becomes too much for him. Suddenly, he wakes up in another place where a person appears and says that normally, when someone stands before the dragon, he either faints or runs for his life. But Takeru has already gone and changed the rules. Takeru does not get it. The person says he has been tinkering with this world for hundreds of thousands of years, and Takeru spread ripples everywhere in no time. It now bugs him. He blames the ridiculous blessing he gave Takeru and decides to thin it out a bit, and he reminds Takeru that Takeru is the one who wished for the Q partners. Takeru opens his eyes again and sees a black baby dragon in front of him, and he gets happy. The egg hatches, and the dragon clings to Takeru, licks him, and bites him. The dragon asks Takeru to give it a name. When Takeru tells him that he should name himself, the dragon reveals he has a true name, but Takeru can give him an alias. After thinking, Takeru names him B because of his black color. The dragon commands B to join Takeru and roam this world to his heart's content, which means B joins his party. Takeru is surprised and says this is his newborn baby, and the dragon should not entrust him to somebody like him, but the dragon says Takeru's power is greater than his, so he can trust him. The dragon goes back into the water. Now, as for B, the first thing, after taking the miserable ore, Takeru uses his clean magic to wash B.